Welcome to HB Reddit Stories. Today we will see stories of r/am I the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for not ordering any food so I wouldn't have to split the bill? I, 27M, have been a part of a small friend group, around 8 people total, basically since college. For some background, 2 people from the group, Susan and Greg, are just absolute leeches. Going out for lunch? Expect them to order the most expensive on the menu, then feed you some sob story about their finances and then dumb half the bill on you. Last weekend, Dan, one of the people from the group, told me about a casual dinner. I told him how if Susan or Greg were there I wouldn't be able to come. He tells me that they would be there but I should just put my opinions aside and come just once. This is kind of where I might be an a-hole. I agreed with him and told him I would be there. I show up and we all get to talking. Everyone began putting in their orders, most of them spent about $40. There were only about 6 people there. When it gets to Susan and Greg, they both order expensive dishes, around $200. When it was my turn to order, everyone looked at me, but I just pick up the menu and point to the $4 Miller Lite and sent the waiter away. Dan asked why I hadn't ordered anything and all I said was that I lost my appetite. The other 2 friends got up as well to cancel their orders and just have drinks. After the main courses came out, I saw Susan and Greg picking at their food. The waiter then brings over the check. Greg then grabs the waiter and asks him to split the check 6 ways. I stand up and correct him saying the check was to be split 3 ways. Greg looks at me confused and asks why since we always split the bill. I reminded him that 3 of us had not eaten any food so we would just be paying for our drinks. So basically at the end of the night, Dan, who probably only ate around $50 worth of food, was stuck with a $146.98 check at the end. Yes, I remember the exact number. I swear I saw his jaw drop when he picked that receipt up. I slid a $10 towards the check, said goodbye everyone, and walked out. The next morning, I found my phone full of texts from Greg and Susan telling me I was an a-hole for not ordering any food and forcing them to pay more than they had accounted for. I honestly laughed because the steaks alone were more than what they had paid, but to each their own, right? I also got a lot of messages from Dan saying that I could have just not came instead of pulling that stunt and getting him stuck with an outrageous bill. Edit: at this restaurant, the bar is separate so drinks are on a separate bill if that makes sense. And if anyone is concerned about leaving a tip, I live in Australia. Edit 2: hey guys, just wanted to clarify some things. 90% of restaurants where I live they don't do separate checks and might separate the bill for you if you're lucky. By the way, this post is in AUD, so if you want the amounts in USD, you have to convert it. Dan could have easily asked Greg and Susan to transfer him the money if he wanted, but he's always been about helping them through their financial hardship, even though they're just using him and keeps dragging me into it. I admit what I did was immature, but I'm tired of being forced to play along. It's his money and if he wants to spend it on them, that's fine, but I'm not paying for them. Also, Dan's a really good friend of mine, albeit blind AF. I was just trying to get him to see what kind of people he was helping. I will admit it was a tad bit petty. Thank you for the gold. Top comments. Not the a-hole. Is it not possible to ask the waiter for separate checks? Everyone gets their own check for what they ordered, ahead of time. While some people think this is a little tacky, it's not anywhere near as tacky as ordering a meal that costs 5 times as much as anyone else's, and expecting them to cover it. OP replies. It's not very common in Australia, it's just usually common courtesy to just order within what everyone else is ordering so you can split the check at the end. Most restaurants refuse as well, but I get your point. Even if you were actually not hungry, I would still say not the a-hole. They clearly premeditated this whole event and expected others to take the financial fall for their lifestyle. Hope Dan opens his eyes, but right now, they seem superglued shut. Good for you though. OP replies. Yeah, they do this all the time, I guess I was feeling a little cheeky that night. Dan's a bit stubborn, but I wouldn't be surprised if he still thinks I was in the wrong and not them. Not the a-hole. I thought what you did was brilliant. You started by saying you would not attend if the leeches were there, your friend Dan wanted you to come anyway, so you did, but on your own terms. The moment you ordered only a beer, That was a signal that every adult at the restaurant should have recognized, especially because the bar bill is separate from the food, that you were not eating, 2 others were not eating, thus obviously not splitting a bill for dinner. I bet Dan will not be so quick to include Susan and Greg again. Not the a-hole. The next morning, I found my phone full of texts from Greg and Susan telling me I was an a-hole for not ordering any food and forcing them to pay more than they had accounted for. Dan was the one who told you to put your opinions aside and just come, right? Well handled. Your friends must have thought so too because they followed suit. Dan got caught out. What I'm wondering though is why any of you continue socializing/being friends with people who not only constantly leech off you but openly admit to doing so. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents they need to place their next kid for adoption? My parents have 4 kids already. Me, 17M, my younger sister, 13F, younger brother, 12M, and youngest sister, 10F. My parents have relied on me heavily to take care of my siblings. Started when I was still too young to do much, but they'd put them in my room if a nightmare happened, and after each sibling was 6 months old they started sharing a room with me until they were 3. Then it was getting me to prepare something to eat for my younger siblings. It was also staying home with them while mom went shopping, and over time it evolved. I help with homework, I make sure they're awake for school, I walk them to school since I don't have a car, I feed them, and most of the time I'm the one they come to if they need help with something. My parents will drop them off at birthday parties or to friends' houses. They'll take us out for family experiences but admittedly expect me to keep an eye on my siblings. My parents provide the food and house and clothes. I provide the emotional stuff. I don't love doing it, but I got so used to it that it became second nature. I'm still the person my youngest sister comes to if she has a nightmare or is afraid of anything during the night. My parents learned they were pregnant again in February. They told me and my siblings last month. It was very much talked about like I will have the baby with me, in my room, for the jump, and should learn how to independently change diapers and stuff. I made it clear from the jump that I wasn't raising their next kid for them. I told them I had more responsibility to my 3 siblings than I should have ever had. But I wasn't going to skip my own life to raise an infant from the start. My parents were shocked. They tried to get one of my younger siblings on board, but they said no way, they didn't want to be responsible like me. My parents returned to me with the topic and asked what the F they're meant to do, and they never expected me to reject a sibling like this. I said I reject child raising another one of their kids. Not a sibling. But also, I'll be out of the house in 7 months. I won't be around the new sibling as much and the relationship might not be the same. I told them I don't want the same relationship either. I don't want to be a parent to another sibling. They made it pretty clear they don't want to do the actual child raising, and they're living a nightmare over this. When the topic came up during the last week, I told them they need to place the baby for adoption since they won't have a good childhood with nobody wanting to raise them. I told my parents it would be the kindest thing to do if they refused to raise the baby themselves. My parents accused me of treating adoption flippantly, and they were sorta outraged. I would rather they place the baby for adoption than for me to step up and raise this one too. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. I don't know where you're located, but if you are in the USAID, call CPS and get them involved. OP replies. CPS won't do anything. They were called before and came to talk to us and did nothing. They didn't see this as a big enough problem to do any continued intervention. We were all taken care of, and that was enough. Even though the taking care of part was on me. Parentification is child abuse. That's what you have been subjected to. Get out of the house as soon as you can. Get a job outside school hours, and get out of the house as much as you can the remainder of your time there. Also, you'll want to try and get therapy and learn about normal sibling boundaries. Because your siblings will reach for you to provide for them, once they realize how little is left at home without you there. It's not that they want to hurt you, it's just survival for them. And you'll have to be able to say no. That is no easy thing. So as soon as you can, get therapy with the aim of learning appropriate sibling boundaries in a situation where you have been parentified for years by the actual parents. Move far, far away for a few years. Not the a-hole. Call child support services and tell them about your situation and what can be done, if your parents won't shut up. Hell, tell your parents that's your next move if they don't shut up about it, and explain to them that once Child Protective Services are aware of the situation, follow-up is guaranteed. Fib a bit, after the birth of the child, when you won't be there. Opie replies. I can do it knowing that. I can still be there for my siblings over the phone and they can visit me. But I won't be forced to do it all anymore. Maybe that's how CPS actually does something this time. Or maybe not. But I know I'll be giving up so much of my life if I stay. I'll never get to be young and just have fun. CPS was already called on us before and they didn't intervene. So calling them again won't help. They were sorta outraged. I would rather they place the baby for adoption than for me to step up and raise this one too. The complete lack of self-awareness and accountability they need to think this, let alone say it, is mind-boggling. Not the a-hole, Opie. Plan for your escape now. Not the a-hole. When they are both out of the house, look for your important documents, birth certificate, social security card, stuff like that, so they can't keep it from you as a way of punishing you for not being their live-in nanny anymore. See if you can move in with a relative. Opie replies. I don't have a relative to move in with. I'll be doing this alone, but have a friend I can move in with once I'm 18. I was able to find my birth certificate but nothing else. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my cousin I can't come to his wedding because of no child rule? My cousin is getting married at the end of August in California at a vineyard. No one in the family is in California, so to go I need to get a hotel. Me, my mom, and brother found an Airbnb that relatively close. Also, I should mention my husband is posted abroad and won't be coming. I was going to fly to the US for this. The invite came out only 3 weeks ago and we had to scramble to find a place. The issue now is that I have a 4-month-old baby who only breastfeeds and won't take a bottle. She had to drink from an open cup one time because I needed to take a driving exam, and that is the longest she has ever been away from me. They just let us know that no children under 12 are allowed. So I told them that logistically I can't come. They suggested that me and my mother go back and forth to the Airbnb to watch the baby, and I said it's just too big of a deal. To fly all the way there, pay for an Airbnb and then go back and forth during the wedding. It just doesn't seem worth it. It's a lot of effort to do all of that by myself with a small baby. The Airbnb and plane are still refundable at this point. My cousin is mad that I'm canceling as they paid per head and can't reduce the amount at this point. I said they can try and find someone else to invite. I said it's his fault that they didn't write the child rule on the invitation. He said I should not be stingy and get a babysitter. I don't know anyone in that area of California, and honestly paying for a babysitter on top of an Airbnb and flight is ridiculous to me. He says it's standard to not bring children to weddings. So am I the a-hole for canceling close to the date because I can't bring my baby with me? Edits for clarity, short notice is because bride is pregnant. I live with my husband in Germany where he is posted. Baby already has passport because she is only US citizen. Because of the shotgun nature of the wedding, the invite consisted of a graphic image without particular guest names emailed to the guests. The RSVP system also let me choose up to 3 people, so I thought that was me, my baby, and my husband. Update: apparently about 30 people have cancelled because of this, and that's why they are complaining so much about the costs. Top comments. Not the a-hole. Who expects the parents of a 4-month-old to find a babysitter in a strange place at the last minute? I flew back to the USA from overseas with a 10-month-old and that was hard enough, alone with a 4-month-old sounds daunting. Do not let your cousin bully you. Cancel everything and stay home. If your mother and brother want the Airbnb, they can cover your share, or find other accommodation. Opie replies. My mom said she almost doesn't want to go now. She'd rather spend the money to come see me, lol. Your cousin is trying to make his bad planning your problem. How ridiculous to ask a mother to get a babysitter for a 4-month-old baby who is breastfed, in a strange city where she doesn't know anyone. Your cousin has clearly demonstrated that he is clueless. Not the a-hole, by a long shot. Opie replies. Also, I should mention the shotgun wedding is because she is pregnant, so it's all a little funny. Not the a-hole, and you know this already. Opie replies. I did until I got 5 phone calls in 30 minutes from different family members telling that I'm the only cousin not coming and I'm ruining everyone's enjoyment of the event. Next story. AITA if I refuse to buy a tacky painting my sister-in-law made for my family. My daughter and I love reading these together, now it's my turn to ask for judgment. I'm 52F and this situation concerns my husband's brother, Drew, 59M, and his wife of 5 years, Suzanne, 35F. Drew supports Suzanne on his income while she focuses on her dream of being an artist. She makes paintings of people and animals, and has a website where she advertises her work for sale. Privately, I don't think her art is very good. It's absolutely better than what I could do, but it doesn't look professional, if you know what I mean. My husband feels the same, so we have not opted to purchase any of her art, despite her dropping hints here and there about it. The art on her site is priced in the $3,000 to $5,000 range. I realize that labor and cost of materials must be taken into account, but given the quality, those prices seem outrageous to me. I suspect she's not making regular sales, because she started making portraits of friends, family, or pets as a surprise, and usually, said family and friends end up feeling obligated to buy the painting as a courtesy. Unfortunately, my husband and I were the latest victims of this sales tactic. My son recently proposed to his girlfriend, and we took the two of them, his girlfriend's parents, and our daughter out to a fancy dinner to celebrate. Both my kids posted pictures from dinner on social media. Without telling anyone, Suzanne decided to make a painting of one of these pictures, of everyone smiling for the camera. She revealed the big surprise at a party she and Drew hosted 2 weeks ago. The painting is a whopping 40 by 58 inch, and I honestly think it's awful, kitsch and tacky. I told Suzanne it was sweet of her to commemorate such a special moment in our family, but I carefully avoided saying anything about liking it. As I feared, she kept dropping hints throughout the party about how we can buy it as a wedding gift, and she would be happy to give us a big discount off what she would charge someone else. Who else would buy it? I politely dodged these hints, and she was clearly disappointed. Over the weekend, Drew reached out to my husband to say that Suzanne feels hurt that we never made an offer. He said it's becoming obvious as the years go by that we've never purchased one of her pieces, even though we have the means to do so, and it would mean a lot to them if we buy the painting. Her original asking price was $2,500, and Drew said he'll reduce it further to $1,900. It's not about the money, not entirely. It's the principle of the thing. I feel like I'm being strong-armed into paying for something I never asked for, don't like, and don't have space for in my house. I asked, and my son and his fiancée don't want it. My husband thinks we should just buy it to keep the peace in the family and avoid a potential rift with Suzanne and Drew. He also says the way I talk makes me sound like a snob, even though I would never share these opinions with anyone I know but him. AITA if I stand my ground and refuse? Top comments. NTA, I will simply ask her why won't she gift it to the happy couple and follow up asking did she only make the painting so that she can make money and not for her nephew and his new fiancé. You're definitely not wrong but I'm petty and would make sure to turn this around on her. Opie replies. Thank you for your judgment, I think this is a great idea. Though, I know Suzanne's underlying issue is that she thinks we don't like her art, which is true, and I'm afraid she'll keep pushing until she either makes the sale or I give a firm no. First off, as a working artist and art professor, no professional artist would paint from a photo without express permission, so she's not a professional. Second, that size is ridiculous. It puts me in mind of the gigantic and totally awful painting Amy had made of her and Penny in Big Bang Theory. I would urge you to simply tell Drew, kindly but firmly, that you aren't going to buy the painting or any of Suzanne's artwork and ask him to please let it drop. If you buy this painting you're setting yourself up for more of Suzanne's ambush marketing. I won't lie, now I'm dying to see the painting, lol. Not the a-hole for not wanting to pay $2,000 for bad art. Haha, definitely not the a-hole. I think it's normal to support artists in your family or social circle by buying a small or medium piece even if you don't really like it that much. However, expecting petty purchases to the tune of thousands of dollars is ridiculous. Moreover, making tailor-made gifts depicting certain people and then expecting them to pay for it so tacky. I wonder how she even feels good doing this. It's pretty obvious at this point that she is forcing people to pay and not earning the sales. I'd say stand your ground and make it clear that she should not be making huge portraits of people without their consent. Even if it were a great piece, people just don't necessarily want that sort of thing. Opie replies. Thank you for your judgment. I know she spends a lot of time and money on her art, but as you say, it feels very bad to be on the receiving end of this. Privately, I would be more inclined to support her by putting the $2,500 towards painting classes, but knowing Suzanne, that would not be received well. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.